In the heart of ancient times, far from the noise and haste of the modern world, there lived two brothers in a peaceful city. These brothers were not just known for their handsome appearance and noble character, but more so for their unbreakable bond of love and loyalty. Wherever they went, they walked side by side, whether it was the busy streets of the city or the quiet trails of the wild forest. Their love was so deep and sincere that people in the city often use their example to define true brotherhood. If love exists, they would say, it should be like the love between these two brothers. The brothers shared a mutual passion for hunting, a tradition they had followed since their youth. The excitement of the chase, the thrill of tracking wild game through dense forests, and the satisfaction of sharing a fire-cooked meal in the wilderness was a bond they cherished. Yet beyond their shared interests lay a tale that destiny had already begun to write, one filled with twists of fate, divine blessings, separation, sacrifice, and eventual reunion. This story, rooted in magic, mystery, and wisdom, would take the brothers on completely different journeys, one toward unexpected kingship and the other toward life-threatening trials and eventual honor. What began as a simple hunting trip would soon become a legendary tale passed down through generations. The story of these two brothers is more than just a fable. It is a lesson in patience, destiny, humility, and the triumph of truth. It reminds us that the path of the wise may be tested by hardship, but in the end, justice prevails, and love reunites those separated by fate. This is their story, the story of brotherhood, bravery, and the birth of the Ruby King. One day, as was their custom, the two brothers set off on a hunting expedition deep into the forest. The sun was high, the air crisp, and the trees stood tall like silent guardians of an ancient world. As they ventured farther into the woods, they spotted a beautiful deer. Excited, the younger brother quickly drew his bow and released an arrow, but it missed its mark. The startled deer leapt and bounded away through the thick forest. Without wasting a moment, both brothers mounted their horses and chased after it with full determination. The chase continued for hours, pushing their bodies and their steeds to the edge of exhaustion. As the sun began to dip below the horizon and dusk turned to night, the elder brother finally struck the deer with a precise shot. The animal fell, and the brothers quickly descended from their horses. After offering a respectful sacrifice, they prepared a meal from the venison. Their stomachs were growling from hunger, and the horses were drenched in sweat from the day's pursuit. Using nearby wood, they lit a fire, roasted the meat, and quenched their thirst at a nearby stream. As they sat under the moonlight, the elder brother playfully tested the younger's intelligence, asking him to guess their distance from home and why the meal tasted more delicious than usual. The younger replied with wisdom and logic, explaining that their hunger enhanced the flavor and used the stars to estimate their location and direction. Later, while the elder slept, the younger kept watch, wandering the forest with his bow in hand. In the deep silence of the night, he heard two birds speaking from atop a tree, birds with magical powers, revealing secrets of rubies and kingship. What began as a day of sport was about to change their fates forever. As dawn painted the sky with hues of gold, the elder brother awakened to an unusual feeling in his stomach. Moments later, he coughed, and to his disbelief, a glowing red ruby dropped from his mouth. At first, he thought it a dream or perhaps a strange illness, but the younger brother, calm and composed, explained everything. He revealed how he had heard two magical birds speak in the night, how one of their meats bestowed kingship and the other caused rubies to be vomited. Without hesitation, the younger brother had cooked the birds and, in an act of pure selflessness, fed the magical meat to his elder brother. The elder was stunned, not just by the miracle, but by the immense love and loyalty shown by his younger sibling. Grateful and amazed, he embraced his brother, recognizing the divine destiny unfolding before them. Later that day, they spotted a nearby village and decided to approach it. The elder brother went ahead to sell the ruby, leaving the younger to tend to the horses. But as fate would have it, the kingdom to which the village belonged had just lost its ruler. The people, desperate for a new king, followed an old tradition. The first stranger to enter the city gates would be crowned. That very moment, the elder brother arrived. The guards welcomed him with ceremony. The ministers adorned him with royal robes, and a massive crowd gathered to celebrate their new sovereign. In the blink of an eye, he went from a forest wanderer to a king seated upon a golden throne. Yet, amid all the glory, power, and festivities, he forgot the one who had made it all possible, his younger brother, still waiting in the forest, unaware that his act of sacrifice had changed both their destinies forever. While the elder brother was being crowned king in a city he had stumbled upon by fate, the younger brother remained patiently in the forest, watching over the horses and waiting for his return. Hours turned into a day, and yet his brother did not come back. Still full of hope, he stayed faithful to his promise, unaware that he had been forgotten in the rush of royal celebration. One evening, as the forest grew darker and more ominous, a strange rustling emerged from the dense trees. Before he could react, a massive beast, half animal, half demon, leapt from the shadows and snatched him up in its claws. The creature soared through the forest, carrying the helpless young man to the mouth of a deep, dark well, and hurled him into its depths before disappearing into the night. The fall was long and painful, but by a miracle, he survived. Trapped at the bottom of the well, injured and starving, he called out for help. Days passed in darkness, but one morning, he heard voices above. A caravan passing nearby had stopped to draw water. Upon discovering him, the travelers rescued him from the pit and gave him food and shelter. Though weak, he expressed his gratitude and stayed with the caravan for some time. But destiny had another test for him. After a full month had passed, just like his brother, he too vomited a ruby, proving the lingering effect of the second magical bird's meat. The caravan leader, however, blinded by greed, accused him of stealing the ruby, claiming that no one could possibly produce such a gem from their mouth. He dragged the boy to the local kingdom's court. Thus began a new chapter in the younger brother's life, one of false accusations, trials, and the hope for justice in a land where no one yet knew his truth. As the younger brother was dragged into the court of a foreign kingdom, accused of stealing a ruby that had, in truth, come from his own mouth, fate placed him before an unlikely savior, the wise princess. This kingdom did not have a ruling king at the time, and the responsibility of justice and governance rested on the shoulders of a brilliant, fair, and deeply intelligent princess. Renowned throughout the land for her wisdom, she was known not only for her beauty, but for her ability to uncover truth where others saw only confusion. When the caravan leader presented his claim, stating that the young man had stolen a precious ruby from his luggage, the princess did not rush to judgment. She observed the boy carefully, his torn clothes, his calm but sorrowful face, and his silence. Something about him told her he was not a thief. Later that night, she had him quietly brought to her chambers, away from the public eye. There, under the glow of a flickering lamp, she gently asked him to speak the truth. Trusting her kind eyes and gentle tone, the younger brother told her everything, from the forest, the magical birds, and his brother becoming king, to the beast that had thrown him into the well and the ruby he had later vomited. The princess listened carefully, her mind sharp and thoughtful. To confirm his story, she devised a test. If the boy could produce another ruby after a month, he would be proven innocent. The month passed, and true to his word, the younger brother once again vomited a glowing ruby. The court was stunned. The princess, smiling with satisfaction, declared him innocent and exposed the greed of the caravan leader. Impressed by his truthfulness and touched by his journey, she not only freed him, but invited him to stay at the palace. Eventually, the bond between them deepened, and she offered him her hand in marriage, making him not just her hero, but her equal. Years had passed since the two brothers were separated by fate, one ruling a kingdom as a king, and the other now married to a wise princess and serving as a respected figure at a royal court. Though their lives had taken very different paths, destiny had not yet written its final chapter. The younger brother, despite his elevated status and peaceful life, often thought about his elder brother. He had no idea whether he was alive, lost, or still wandering. But somewhere deep in his heart, he still held on to the hope of reunion. That hope began to stir when an ambassador from the elder brother's kingdom arrived in the younger brother's court. This ambassador was no ordinary man. He had once served under the elder brother, and during a royal gathering, his eyes fell upon the rare ruby placed in the younger brother's palace treasury. He paused. That ruby, its exact shade, shine, and shape, was identical to the one his own king had once vomited years ago. It was too rare to be coincidence. Curious and confused, the ambassador approached the court quietly, asking where this ruby had come from. When he learned of the story, that the prince of their land had once vomited a ruby and was married to the wise princess, he was stunned. Upon returning home, the ambassador immediately informed the elder brother of everything he had seen and heard. At first, the king was speechless. The story was too familiar. Could it truly be? Had he unknowingly abandoned his own brother all those years ago? Guilt washed over him, but so did hope. Without delay, he wrote a heartfelt letter filled with longing and apology, inviting his younger brother to visit him. The words were sincere, and for the first time in years, the wind of fate carried the scent of reunion. With hearts full of joy and anticipation, the younger brother and his wife, the wise princess, set out on a journey to reunite with the elder brother, now a mighty king in a distant land. The news of the invitation had filled their hearts with hope, healing the pain of years spent apart. Preparations were made with care, and they boarded a royal ship with their servants, gifts, and precious rubies to mark the reunion. The sky was clear, the sea calm, and the voyage began with laughter and dreams of a warm embrace between the two long-separated brothers. But fate, ever mysterious, had another trial to offer. As their ship sailed into deeper waters, the sky began to darken. Clouds gathered like an army, and winds howled with fury. A powerful storm struck, so sudden and fierce that even the most experienced sailors panicked. Thunder roared and lightning flashed like angry swords in the sky. Waves rose like mountains, crashing against the ship and tearing its sails. The royal vessel groaned under the pressure until, finally, with a deafening crack, it broke apart in the raging sea. In the chaos, the younger brother and the princess were separated. The princess clung to a broken plank and was rescued by a passing boat the next morning. The younger brother, however, was cast away into the vast ocean, battered by waves, with no one knowing whether he had survived or drowned. The princess, though safe, was heartbroken, not knowing the fate of her husband. She was taken to the elder brother's kingdom, where she was received with honor, but carried the pain of separation in her eyes. Meanwhile, the younger brother washed ashore on an unfamiliar coast, alive but weak, dressed in torn clothes, and with no proof of his identity. He was alone, unknown, and forgotten, yet once again, destiny had not given up on him. Stranded on the shores of an unknown land, the younger brother found himself alone once again, injured, weary, and stripped of all signs of royalty. Yet within him still burned the same quiet strength, humility, and unwavering faith in truth. Without a name or title, he wandered into the nearest city in search of shelter and work. He offered his services as a servant in the royal stables, hiding the pain of his identity beneath a simple tunic. Little did he know, this very kingdom was ruled by his own elder brother, the king who had unknowingly forgotten him years ago and had now, ironically, taken in the younger brother's own wife, the wise princess, as a guest, believing she was a widow. Time passed. The younger brother remained silent, choosing not to reveal himself until the moment was right. That moment arrived when the kingdom announced a grand public event in honor of the princess's survival. A challenge was set before the people, a mysterious test of wisdom, honesty, and identity, designed by the princess herself, who still hoped her husband might be alive somewhere. A strange man was called forward from the stable to take part in the test. It was the younger brother. Before a vast crowd, he told his story, plainly, without embellishment, of forests, rubies, wells, birds, kingship, storms, and separation. At first, many doubted him, but the princess, listening from behind a veil, felt her heart tremble. When he recited the final detail, the exact words the magical birds had spoken years ago, she stood and removed her veil, her eyes filled with tears. "This is my husband," she declared. The elder brother, too, was summoned and stood stunned in silence. Recognizing the brother he had once left behind, he rushed forward and embraced him. Tears flowed, not just between the brothers, but among the people who watched the reunion of love, truth, and fate fulfilled at last. Thus, the story that began with a simple hunting trip in the forest concluded with a reunion that brought tears to many eyes and peace to long-suffering hearts. The elder brother, filled with guilt and remorse for having forgotten the very sibling who gave him his throne, publicly honored the younger brother as not only his equal, but as the true source of his fortune. The wise princess, reunited with her husband after surviving trials of both sea and sorrow, stood as a symbol of patience, faith, and enduring love. Together, the three became pillars of a united kingdom, ruling with justice, compassion, and wisdom that could only be born from suffering, separation, and eventual forgiveness. Their tale became legend. Across villages and kingdoms, storytellers would recount the saga of the two brothers and the wise princess, how love, sacrifice, and fate twisted through their lives, testing them in the harshest of ways, only to reward them in the end. The ruby, once a symbol of mystery and magic, came to represent truth, hidden, rare, and only revealed under pressure. The forest where it all began was renamed the Forest of Destiny, and a monument was built at the well where the younger brother had once been thrown, reminding future generations that even in the deepest darkness, the light of faith can lead one home. In the years that followed, the kingdom thrived under their joint rule. They raised children who were taught not only royalty and leadership, but also humility and gratitude. The brothers never let power come between them again, and their bond remained unbroken till their final days. Their story passed from generation to generation, not as a fairy tale, but as a timeless lesson, that true greatness lies not in wealth or titles, but in loyalty, patience, and the courage to endure until destiny fulfills its promise.